Imagine a late-night voyage, one that would etch an eerie recollection into the most profound corners of my consciousness. A journey that started off as an ordinary expedition, but would soon transform into an unforgettable and haunting experience. Coming across an isolated service station on this lonesome excursion, I found myself taken aback. The station, far from the hustle and bustle of the city, was eerily quiet, its solitude piercing the silence of the night. The only sounds were the soft hum of nearby crickets and the occasional distant car passing by. I cautiously pulled up to this quaint station. A sense of hesitation gripped me. There was an inexplicable feeling of unease that made my heart thump loudly in my chest. In the dimly lit store behind the counter was a young cashier. A gangly teenager, his face a battlefield of acne, was engrossed in meticulously packing a variety of munchies and packs of cigarettes. His demeanor was harmless enough, but there was an undercurrent of oddity that refused to be ignored. There was something off. Despite my reservations, I approached him, a paper map in hand, an artifact from an era long since past. The crumpled piece of paper felt oddly out of place in this digital age, like a whispers of the past echoing through the ages. I gingerly unfolded it, revealing a patchwork of lines and symbols that represented the unfamiliar city I found myself standing in. I cleared my throat, breaking the silence that had settled between us. A sheepish grin formed on my face as I launched into an explanation, stumbling over my words. I revealed my current predicament, how I had lost my way in the labyrinth of streets and alleyways, how they twisted and turned like a complex puzzle that I could not solve. The young man, with his modern attire and amused smile, seemed like a stark contrast to my old-school navigational tool. He glanced at the map I held out to him and, after a moment of contemplation, pointed out our location amidst the chaos of lines. He then traced a path with his slender finger across the paper, suggesting the quickest route back to the main road. His laughter rang out in the quiet street, a melody that eased my worries. I thanked him, paid for my purchases, and filled up my vintage Honda Accord, a car as outdated as the map I held in my hands. I took a moment to look at the old car, the worn-out leather seats, the faded paint job, the fragile steering wheel that shook just a bit too much when I turned it. Every dent and scratch told a story, whispering tales of past road trips and enlightening encounters. As I turned to the gas station, I felt a peculiar sensation. His eyes, as blue as a cloudless sky on a sunny day, were still on me, tracing my movements with an intensity that was simultaneously unsettling and intriguing. There was something in his gaze that felt almost invasive, yet it held a kind of inexplicable curiosity that was difficult to ignore. Back in the car, the worn-out seat felt comforting, familiar. I looked over at my friend Craig, who had been observing our encounter with a bemused expression. We shared a hearty laugh, the sound filling up the car, momentarily pushing away the strange sense of being watched that had enveloped us. Our chuckles echoed in the confined space, the shared humor erasing the unease brought upon by the scrutiny. Little did we know how that gaze would embed itself into our memories, a lingering jigsaw piece in the puzzle that was our road trip. But for now, in the comfort of the old Honda, we were oblivious to the strange scrutiny we just experienced. As we continued our aimless drive, the forest began to converge around us. The trees, like ancient guardians, stood tall and stoic, their branches reaching out, mingling with one another, creating a canopy that stretched out beyond the horizon. The rich scent of damp foliage filled the air, mixing with the subtle hint of pine and birch. The faint rustle of leaves, a signal of unseen creatures scurrying in the underbrush, whispered in the breeze. The eerie silence was broken by the symphony of nocturnal wildlife that filled the air. Crickets, cicadas, and other creatures unknown to us orchestrated a serenade, their rhythmic chirps blending together in a harmony that echoed throughout the darkened landscape. Above us, the moonlight struggled, fighting against the thick foliage to cast its glow upon the world below. The faint light it managed to emit painted an ethereal glow on the road ahead, turning the mundane into something from a mystical realm. Inside our vehicle, the rhythm of Dance with the Dead's That House filled the car, pulsing through the speakers, vibrating beneath our fingertips. The music was a comforting distraction, a tether to the world we knew, a reminder of the civilization we left behind. It counterbalanced the overwhelming rawness of our isolated surroundings, providing a sense of solace amidst the untamed wilderness. The rhythm of Dance with the Dead's That House filled the car, a comforting distraction from our isolated surroundings. The atmosphere of joviality was abruptly ruptured when an obscure entity materialized from the void. An immediate sense of chaos seized my senses, causing my heart to pound deafeningly in my chest as I reacted instinctively. My foot, an entity of its own, slammed down on the brakes, the sudden jolt of the car's engine being restricted echoing in the night. With a precision that seemed to defy time itself, the car managed to avoid a disastrous impact and skidded safely on the tarmac, dust clouding the rearview mirror. The car stopped, the headlights illuminating the lonely road that we had just traveled, casting long shadows that seemed to dance menacingly. The silence was palpable, the only sound being the distant hum of the idling engine and the beat of my heart that still hadn't managed to slow down. Craig, taken aback, his face a mask of confusion, demanded an explanation in a low, shaky voice. Although I could see the fear in his eyes, his tone was almost accusatory, as I had intentionally created this chaos. With a deep breath, I exited the car, my hands shaking as I left the safety of the vehicle. The cold night air gripped me. The silence that followed was disturbing yet strangely fascinating. The world seemed to be holding its breath, waiting for the next move. I scanned the surroundings, my eyes straining in the dim light, desperate to find the enigmatic figure that had instigated this chaos. Despite my frantic search, the mysterious figure had disappeared into the night. That moment left us shaken, questioning the very fabric of our reality. We had just witnessed something beyond explanation on that desolate, abandoned road, miles away from our comforting sanity. It was an encounter, an experience engraved so deep within our memories that it held the power to make our hearts tremble just a mere recall. It was like an icy gust of wind, a chilling reminder of the obscure and unexplored mysteries that lurk in the darkest corners of the world, the shadows untouched by knowledge and understanding. But what was it that we encountered? Was it a mere figment of our imagination, an illusion born out of fear and loneliness? Or was it something far more sinister, a creature of the dark urging us to question our every belief? Was it a phantom, a specter, or simply a trick of the light? The answer, however, was elusive. Slipping through the cracks of our it kept us wondering, pondering over the infinite possibilities of the unknown. But that answer, I fear, is a story for another time.